Welcome to Cultivate, the show where we talk about building, growing, and figuring it out as you go. If you're new here, welcome. I'm your host, Alex, and I'm so glad you're here today. Real quick, if you're the kind of person who loves listening in on honest conversations with cool people doing big things and making the world a better place, be sure to hit subscribe. That's exactly what we do here each week. Now, today's conversation is one I have been looking forward to. I'll be honest with you, it's not an easy one, but it's an important one. My guest today is Kennedy Myers, former business owner, corporate girly, and the woman behind the Graze Catering and the Graze Management. Kennedy was deep in the build, running two businesses, doing the thing, when she was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. And just like that, everything stopped. What happened next is a story about losing what you built, fighting for your life, finding your voice, and using it to help other people. Kennedy turned to TikTok to document her journey through treatment and recovery, raw, honest, and unfiltered, and nearly 130,000 people found her there. In this episode, we talk about what life looked like before the diagnosis and the signs she wishes she hadn't ignored, what it actually feels like to close a business you poured yourself into, navigating the healthcare system and why self-advocacy might save your life, and what she wants every entrepreneur who is grinding right now to hear. This one is going to stay with you. Let's dive in. Kennedy Myers, welcome to Cultivate.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here today. Thank you so much for reaching out to us. And I'm excited to share your story. It's a really important one. Take us back to before the diagnosis. What did your life look like?
Yeah, so I was running a business called the Graze, and that was a charcuterie and grazing table business. I did that on the side because I was also working in corporate America. So I had a 9 to 5 that I was working Monday through Friday. And then I started the business because I was doing it for friends and family, really loved it, realized that there wasn't that much happening in that environment where I was from. I wasn't in the Syracuse area yet. I was out towards Mexico and Oswego. So I branched out, talked to some of the people that do it in Syracuse, started doing it myself, and then branched out to weddings and realized that I liked doing the content part of it just as much as I liked doing the boards, if not more. So I started the Graze Management, which was my social media business, and I was helping other local businesses in the Syracuse area develop their brands online and just do their day-to-day social media interactions. And then I got my diagnosis and stopped my businesses and lost my corporate America job.
Before you got your diagnosis, what did a typical week in the life look like for you? How much were you working?
Yeah, so like I said, I did 9 to 5, so I had my regular work day. I was actually more of like an 8 to 4. So I would get done, usually go to the store, pick up what I needed for orders, go home, fulfill orders, ending my day around like 10:30, 11, and then doing the social media periodically throughout the day, more so on the weekends, getting content for them as well. And that was a Monday through Sunday situation. I was doing events on the weekends. If I wasn't at a wedding, I was at a vendor event doing stuff to get my name out there. So I was always somewhere doing something, never resting, no days off, just constantly filling my schedule with anything I could to try and grow the businesses.
Yeah, you were like nonstop, which I think so many of us now are living life in that way, especially in this economy. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people I know with full-time jobs and are also trying to build a business on the side. And building a business without a full-time job is 24/7. I
Yeah.
could not wrap my head around how to manage both of those things.
hmm
Were there signs your body was trying to tell you something was wrong before you got your diagnosis?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I was definitely really sick for like a year before my diagnosis. I was seeing a lot of different doctors and specialists to kind of figure out what was going on. And even when I was discussing with the doctors, we were both like just saying, okay, well, maybe I'm just working too hard. Maybe I'm doing too much. It's burnout. It's too much stress on my body. I'm going from sitting all day in the office to standing all night and doing all these events. And maybe I was just wearing myself too dry in that aspect. But I was really, really sick towards the end of it. Like I was going to events and then getting in my car and passing out and getting sick and not being able to drive myself home after doing a grazing table at somebody's wedding because I was so sick. And I think that I got in my head so much about, okay, this is just, it's part of what it is. I'm just working so hard that I'm just literally working myself to sickness. And I think definitely if I didn't fill my schedule as much as I had been, I would have noticed a lot more and been able to rationalize that this isn't normal, regardless of how hard you're working. And I definitely think that my team would have taken it more seriously had I been like, well, no, I think we're ignoring some of the signs, because I definitely was. I was just not ignoring, I wouldn't say, but I was definitely just giving them excuses and explanations that were not logical or valid explanations. They were just band-aids to cover up the fact that nothing could be going wrong because I'm in the middle of such a big grind right now.
Yeah.
Like nothing can go wrong. So I definitely ignored a lot. And I think that I wouldn't have done that if I was just working a 9 to 5. I think I would have put more passion and advocacy into like making sure that the doctors knew something is wrong. This isn't my lifestyle adding up. This is something seriously going wrong.
That's why I think that this conversation and your story is an important one to hear for so many people, but most importantly for business owners.
Yeah.
I think, building a business is, I say all the time, it's a spiritual journey.
Mhm.
Okay. It is, it'll test you in ways you never could have imagined. But I think when you are building a business, you have the thing that's driving you is just the fact that it's all on you.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us assume or believe that we can't afford to rest. We can't
Mhm.
afford to stop because God forbid everything will fall apart if we take a break. So take us back to the day that you found out. What did that look like?
Yeah. So I had a little episode at work one day. I was at my corporate job and my heart was beating very fast. I was like, okay, I know I've been having health problems, but this feels like an emergency. So I actually put on my Apple Watch and I was like, let me just check my heart rate. And it was 285 beats a minute, which is like dead. Like that is a true medical emergency. So I called my team and I was like, I really need to be seen. Something's going on. So they got me right in, did a bunch of labs, and it showed that I had no blood in my body. So like little to no blood. It's called your hemoglobin. It's supposed to be 14. Mine was 1.
Oof.
And so I had been like that for a really long time. So they sent me to the hospital. They were like, if you don't get to the hospital tonight, you're going to die. You don't have enough blood. Your heart will stop. You'll have a stroke, all of these things. So I went to the hospital and I tested positive for mono, like the kissing disease.
Yeah.
And the symptoms actually lined up with everything I had been experiencing. So at the time I was like, okay, this makes sense. Like this, good, finally an answer. We can treat it and move forward. And I got a lot of emergency blood transfusions and then went home, and the hospital I was at didn't give me like any referrals to see anybody to follow up with anything. And then I wasn't getting better. So I had an appointment with HOA, which is Hematology Oncology Associates. It's a cancer center, blood disorder in Syracuse. And I saw them that day and they did my labs and they said, okay, this is really, really bad. And they only do outpatient services. So they said, we need to send you somewhere where you can be admitted because going home is not a safe option for you right now. So I went to upstate and they looked over my labs immediately and said, yes, like you have a cancer. We don't know what's going on yet, but it's very clear and evident that there's a cancer going on in your body. And then it was like 2 days I was admitted probably. They diagnosed blood cancer with a bone marrow biopsy. So they take a piece of bone out of your spine.
Oof.
And so they did the biopsy. And then it was the middle of the night. All of my family had gone home. It was like probably 1 a.m. And the doctor who was on call came in and she was like, we just got the results. You tested like you have acute myeloid leukemia. We need to start your treatment right this second. Like you don't have days, you don't have weeks, you have hours. This is really progressed and we need to treat it. So we just stopped everything and started the treatment immediately.
What was one of the first thoughts that went through your head about work in business?
Yeah, so my job I had been out of since I had tested positive for mono with my corporate job, but I was still taking orders for the Graze. I was still running social media for over 10 companies in Syracuse.
And you're doing this from like the
From the
hospital bed?
hospital bed, yeah. I was like, okay, guys, if you send me pictures, I'll still post content and edit it, but I just can't be there. I'm in the hospital. So I was still doing all of the social media for the brands I was working with. And then the day that they came in and told me, okay, we're going to start our treatment, the treatment for AML is incredibly aggressive. It's the second most aggressive chemo you can get. Like, it really knocks you out. So I knew cognitively I was not going to be able to show up for these brands the way that I wanted to and the way I wanted to represent myself in my brand that I had built. And I wasn't working with anybody else. I didn't have anybody working for me. I didn't have anybody who I really trusted to take over the brand in the way that I was running it. So I reached out to all my clients and said, unfortunately, I got my diagnosis. I'm going to be in treatment for a really long time. I'm not going to be able to show up for you the way that I've committed to showing up for you when we agreed to do this. So I need to take a step back. And that was received well by the client base. And that was, I work with great people. The brands I work with are phenomenal and just so caring. And I stayed in touch with all of them. But I had a lot of weddings booked. I got diagnosed in March, so that's right before graduation season, wedding season, all of these things. So I had really large events booked that people had booked years in advance that I had to tell them, I'm really sorry, but I can't do this anymore. And so I was in the hospital bed and I had to figure out the refunds. I had to figure out trying to point them in a better direction. Like, there are some other companies in Syracuse that are very reputable and great with grazing tables. I was like, these are your options. But unfortunately, I can't do it. And so I just had to give everybody their refunds, pull the plug on everything, and just stop business altogether.
You know, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes right now, and I can't help but think about how crushed I would be to go through something like this and to have to like put life and put this baby that you're, this business baby, right?
Yeah.
And put all this on hold. But then in the same respect, I'm sure that when you're in a position like this, nothing else matters but
Right.
getting better.
Yeah.
How did this experience at first affect and play a role in your personal identity and your mental health?
Yeah. So in the beginning, it was definitely more of like such a life or death situation that I felt more guilty for the people that were getting the short end of the stick because of what I was going through than I felt any sort of emotion towards myself. Like, I was never in a position or had the time to be thinking to myself like, oh, I just did all this work and now it's going to nothing. I didn't really have the time or energy to put my thoughts towards that. So I felt really, really awful and kind of felt like I had failed the people that trusted me with their big events, the best days of their lives, their businesses. And I felt like, why would they ever trust me to do this again? So I had a really large struggle of, I'm never going to be able to rebuild this brand. Like, I just put myself in a situation where people are going to put a bad rep out there for me, which is the complete opposite of what ended up happening. And like I said, everybody I work with is phenomenal. All of the clients I had were so understanding. But in that moment, I was like, okay, this isn't about being able to rebuild the brand. This is about the fact that I can't. Like, it's not, what did I just lose? It's, I'm never going to be able to rebuild it, because I wouldn't mind if I had to rebuild it. Like, that would be the least of my concerns in that moment. Like, I'll get back to the business. But I knew that, or I thought I knew, I guess, in that moment that that wasn't going to be a possibility, because I was leaving these people so quick without warning, without any, like, it was just overnight. Hey, sorry, I'm done. So I thought that I was really putting myself in a position that I wasn't going to be able to go back to it. And that is what I struggled with most in that moment with my identity. I was like mad at myself almost, even though the diagnosis was not my fault at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Wedding vendors cancel on
Yeah.
clients for far more,
Yeah.
far more ridiculous other reasons than your situation, of course. But where do you think this guilt actually came from? Do you think that it comes from this like deeply seated like need to please and take care of others? Or do you think maybe it's because you felt like, oh, I should have known earlier, or maybe I should be more prepared somehow, although nobody plans to be diagnosed with something like this?
Yeah, I think a mix of both. One of the things that was definitely at the forefront of my mind was that why didn't I hire somebody? Why wasn't I working with somebody sooner? I was doing enough business to support that concept. I needed the help. I was completely burnt out and driving my health into the wall, whether I was getting a cancer diagnosis or not. What I was doing wasn't healthy. And so I felt a lot of guilt about why didn't I have somebody working with me? And if I did, then they would have been able to help these people, which definitely, like you said, circles back to I do have that feeling, that deep people pleasing. Like I need to take care of people. That's been my personality my entire life. I don't want to give anybody the short end of the stick for any reason. And I want to be able to help them and be a part of their good moments, not the reason that they're having a bad or a stressful moment.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really really important reflection to share with
Mhm.
people. I think that so many people listening right now that are running a business, maybe they're solopreneurs, they're
Yep.
running the business alone, and they could definitely use some help. I think there is this fear of letting go, but also trusting,
Mhm.
right? I mean, a lot of us start a business because we're really great at something.
Yeah.
We're the best at what we do.
Mhm.
So we create a job out of it, which is amazing. But, you know, I think when it comes to hiring and building a team, a lot of people have fear and anxiety around it because they think, well, if I hire someone, then there's less profit, right? And I'm already kind of struggling to make this business work.
Yeah.
But I guess with the kind of the point that you're making is that, sure, maybe it will be hard to find the right people. It'll be hard to make sure that the work they're producing meets your standards.
Mhm.
It'll be hard to train them, onboarding, all these things. You'll make less profit, but maybe in the long run, it'll actually save and sustain the business, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you would have been able to keep those clients and kept that money in the bank account.
Yeah.
Tell us about the treatment. You know, what was the
Mhm.
treatment actually like? What are the parts that people don't hear about?
Yeah. So, cancer treatment's hard. Obviously, everybody knows that. Everybody dreads cancer. That's like a big thing that there's a huge stigma around even the word cancer. It's like, don't say that, don't joke about that, don't bring that up. And that's because people know how difficult it is. But I think that people don't truly understand what the treatment does to you. And it is like being sick from cancer treatment is so much worse than being sick from cancer because this drug is so incredibly strong that the people giving it to you are in full body suits. Like to some chemos you can give without gowning up. My chemo, they had to be in a head to toe like suit, dressed up with no skin exposed, no air exposed, anything like that, just to even hang the bag of chemo onto my IV pole. And that just goes to show you how strong this drug is. And it's going through my entire body. And especially with a cancer like blood cancer, the cancer's from head to toe. It's in my blood that's traveling my entire body. So the drug doesn't have a specific spot to tackle, it's going everywhere. And while it's killing the bad, it's also killing the good. So any good cells that are going on in my body are now dead because this drug was so strong. So I don't have an immune system. I don't have energy. I don't have stamina. I don't have mental function. I lost all my mobility from my hips down. I couldn't even walk. I went to go to the bathroom one day, went to stand up, fell on the ground as hard as I could. And that's how I realized, okay, my legs don't work. And that was from nothing besides the treatment itself. It wasn't from the cancer progressing, it was just the treatment. I lost mobility in my hands. I couldn't pick up a bead. I couldn't pick up a pen. And I had to do a lot of really extensive physical and occupational therapy to get these things back. And I think that people are under the assumption from what they see from the outside is that it's just you're tired and you're vomiting or you're having the symptoms that you see everywhere. Like, you know that the people feel sick, they don't want to eat, they don't have an appetite, but you don't understand, I think, that like everything hurts. Nothing's functioning. Besides the fact that my body is full of cancer and isn't functioning properly to begin with, now it's got this incredibly strong drug running through all of it that's killing everything that could help me fight it. So it's like you lose your ability to fight what's killing you at the same time that it's saving your life. It's the drug is there to save my life, but it's causing me to feel more like I'm dying than I felt before I got treatment. Like I felt so much more sick going through treatment than I ever felt before my diagnosis. It's a very difficult feeling to grasp because it's like, okay, you're supposed to be making me better. Why am I feeling like I'm really on my deathbed? Like this really feels like the end.
Hmm.
And it didn't feel like that before I got treatment when you're saying I was so close to dying. So I think on top of everything physically that I just explained, also mentally, it's so confusing
Mm.
and you feel so alone because even the people giving you the drug don't understand. They don't know what's causing these things to happen. They don't know why you're feeling the things you're feeling or how to help. Because how can you help? Like the fact of the matter is, I'm dying, and the drug that's saving my life is also killing me. So it's a very difficult mental and physical game to be in, and not a lot of people can relate to that.
No, no. And I'm sure it's incredibly lonely. Do you know how rare this kind of cancer is?
Yeah, so I actually looked up the other day um, for people in their 20s what the chance is to have acute myeloid leukemia, and it was a 0.0006% chance. So it ended up being like 1 in every 3 million or something like that. People will get it. And all of the statistics are that eye-opening and alarming to see. Like, there's no good statistics with this cancer and this strand of leukemia at all.
So you started posting on TikTok.
Mhm.
What exactly made you want to open up about something so terrifying and so publicly?
Yeah, so when I got my diagnosis, I handled that pretty well. That didn't really bother me. I was very relieved to have the diagnosis. But when it came time to do all the procedures and the biopsies and all of these things that I had never heard of or seen, I immediately got onto TikTok to see, okay, who has experienced this? How do they explain it instead of how are professionals on YouTube explaining it? What was their experience like? And I couldn't find anything. Like the only stuff that I could find regarding this specific cancer on TikTok were from users who had since then passed away. And that's too discouraging to continue watching.
Hmm.
So I just felt like there was such a need for it. And I knew that that would have helped me so much if I had been able to find somebody in that first month that I could relate to or that had shared their experience with these things. That would have been so comforting to me. So I wanted to be able to provide that to other people. And it also gave me an outlet because no matter how close you are to anybody in your life, when you have a diagnosis like that, saying these things only makes sense to people who have felt it themselves. And it only feels validating to say to people who have felt it themselves. Like there's no gain or benefit for me venting about these things to, say, a therapist or a family member because I know that they're just hearing my words and not understanding what I'm feeling. But when I'm sharing this to people online who are looking for content like this for a reason, I know that they're feeling what I'm feeling or what I have felt before, or that we share that connection in some way. And that feels very comforting to me.
Yeah. And that really speaks to the power of social media,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
You've amassed over 130,000
Yeah.
followers. What is the message that you share that you find yourself coming back to the most?
Yeah. So I really, really focus on self advocacy and advocating for yourself up against medical professionals and really trying to break the stigma that just because somebody went to medical school and paid for this degree and did all of the schooling does not mean that you need to back down to them and just accept whatever they tell you. I had 3 misdiagnoses that were given to me while I had cancer because none of them thought that I had the cancer. And although it's a rare cancer, so it's not on the forefront of their mind, we trust these people with our lives, literally. And I think that we've gotten to a point as a society where we just accept whatever they tell us as our fate and never challenge it or really defend ourselves against what they're saying. So I try to spread the message that you have that right. You know yourself better than the doctors know you. You know what you're feeling more than a scan can reflect, more than any blood work can say. And you need to show up for yourself because nobody else can show up for you unless you do.
Yeah. So, where are you right now in your
Mhm.
recovery? Physically, emotionally, even in business?
Yeah, so I had a transplant in October called a stem cell transplant where I received new DNA from a complete stranger. And that is a really, really big transplant. They have to completely kill your DNA before the transplant. So you're basically just a body and flesh. And then you get the new DNA. And it's really, really difficult to let your body, like for your body to let that take over. Your body naturally is like, no, that's foreign. I don't want that. But you need it to survive in my case.
What does that procedure look like?
So it's actually way more simple than it sounds like. Somebody does a cheek swab to sign up to be on a registry, and they get put on the list, and then they look for a match in DNA. So they take my saliva, put it on the registry, see who's a match. And then once they find a match that has close enough DNA, they either take it out of their bone marrow or they can do it right out of like an IV. But they have to do incredibly extensive medical testing because now I have this person's DNA forever. I am this person essentially. So they need to make sure that there's no other diseases that they have that are going to come over and bite me in turn. So it's really complicated leading up to it, but the process of getting their stem cells is just usually done through an IV. And then my transplant, I have a port. It was done right through my port. They just hooked me up. It's done just like a blood transfusion. It's actually quicker than a blood transfusion. My transplant was less than 30 minutes total. And then you recover from all of that. And it's a really, really difficult recovery and it's very dangerous. Not great survival rates, not good odds for recovery, but it is the best chance for survival with this cancer. And so I had that done in October and I've been struggling with that. I have a complication called graft-versus-host disease. That is where my donor DNA is fighting my DNA. It's saying, no, we're not going to accept that DNA. And in effort, it's trying to kill parts of me. So I have it on my skin. I have it in my liver, my stomach, it's everywhere. And I'm dealing with that still. So I'm seeing a lot of specialists for that to work on that because that can increase relapse rates, that can increase organ failure. So we're working to tackle that in every area that I have it in. And now I've gotten to a point where I've rebuilt enough of my immune system from treatment and transplant that I can meet with other specialists now. So I have a lot to clean up. We're in the cleanup phase. I got really, really sick and my body went without the proper amount of blood for a really long time. So I have to see neurology, cardiology, endocrinology, all of these specialists. So my weeks are filled with appointments. I have like 4 to 5 appointments a week. And we travel anywhere from Syracuse to Rochester for the appointments. I had my transplant in Rochester. So we do a lot with Strong still. And we just go back and forth and do that. And I'm just in the healing stages. So I'm not able to do much. I can't really do much in public. We do a lot of outdoor stuff whenever we can because I can't be in big crowds yet. I don't have any vaccinations. So I can't get vaccinated yet. And when you get a stem cell transplant, you lose every vaccination you've ever had. So I don't have any. So I'm like a baby in public. So I'm incredibly high risk, except I'm touching more things and talking to more people than a baby would. So it's even more risky.
Mhm.
So we're dealing with that and working through that and just kind of checking things off of the list that accumulated throughout my treatment and before my treatment and just going on this health journey still. I haven't been able to circle back to business stuff yet. I'm not in a space physically where I could even attempt to do something like that. And I've made the commitment to myself that if I'm going to jump back into the business, it's not going to be until I can give it as much as I was giving it before this happened. I don't want to go into it too soon and not be able to put out the best quality or give the best version of myself to anybody I'm working with.
Yeah. So you're in this healing era
Mhm.
and you're not working, you're not
Mhm.
building a business on the side anymore.
Mm-mm.
But sitting down with you, I mean, you seem like an incredibly positive person
Thank
with
you.
great energy. What is your healing journey look like outside of these appointments? How are you spending your time? How are you staying positive? What are you doing?
Yeah, so my boyfriend and I live together. We spend as much time as we can with our families. We're neighbors with my sister and my parents. We're with them as much as we can be. And really, it all circles back to I've got the best village I could ever ask for. I've got the best boyfriend, the best family, the best friends, the best business community, all of the connections I made with the business. These people still are in touch with me. Clients are still reaching out to me and offering to help or drop off a meal. And like, I really am so blessed in the aspect that I have the greatest village behind me. And that's all I could ask for. Like, I was already dealt the hand of cancer. I can't do anything about that. So I think that my mindset has just shifted to being grateful for what I do have. And the biggest blessing that I do have is the village that stands behind me and by my side through all of it.
Gratitude is certainly, I think, the most powerful frequency there is.
Absolutely.
And I think you should be so proud of yourself for maintaining this stature and this mindset, because there's so many people, especially with how rare of a diagnosis you've gotten at such a young age.
Mhm.
I mean, it just speaks to your character. And I feel honestly lucky to know you and sit down with you right now.
Thank you so much.
What do you want someone to walk away with after listening to this episode today?
Yeah, really just for entrepreneurs, burnout is not par for the course for running a business. You don't need to get burnt out. You don't need to work yourself to the point of your body telling you that it's too much. And if you don't take a break, your body will force you to take a break. Something will happen that will be a much larger break than it could have been if you took a break sooner. And your clients and your coworkers and your colleagues will wait. They will be there when you're done taking your break. And it will not ruin your business to pause and take care of yourself. And if you don't take care of yourself, everything falls apart. You lose everything. If you don't have the strength in yourself that you know you have given everything you can to you before you give all of you to everybody else, it's going to end up hurting you in some way or another, mentally or physically. And then for people who maybe aren't in the entrepreneurial world, that you need to advocate for yourself. Like I said, that's my biggest message online. Just if you do not take care of yourself, nobody can take care of you. Even doctors, if you don't advocate for what's going on inside of you, you will not be taken care of the way that you need to be. And that is so important. You only get one opportunity to live this life and to do everything that you want to do. And you can't do that if you neglect your health. And it's not worth it. Just make the doctor's appointment, address what you're feeling. Don't give things answers that are just excuses and band-aids. Actually address what's happening and take care of yourself.
Those are all really important messages. And I think that message in and of itself, to speak up can translate across so many other areas of life, not just in your health, but in your relationships, in your career, in your family.
Mhm.
And I love what you said about nobody can take care of you if you don't take care of
Exactly.
yourself, right? I
Yep.
mean, we're not mind readers.
Yep.
Even though sometimes I wish some people could read my mind.
Yeah.
As someone who has a real hard time advocating for herself and communicating her needs.
Yeah.
Kennedy, thank you for first and foremost being here today, but thank you also for creating a platform where people in your position can feel seen and like they're not alone. Thank you for shining your bright light and for staying positive and leaning into gratitude. You are an amazing role model, and I'm rooting for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me another platform to spread awareness on and help people take care of themselves.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to Cultivate CNY. If you enjoyed this conversation, I'd love it if you left us a quick review and made sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. And if something in today's discussion resonated with you, please share it, whether it's on social media or directly with a friend. You never know how hearing this conversation might be exactly what someone needs right now. And I love to hear your feedback. I love to hear your thoughts. So please be sure to tag us on social media if you do share there. This podcast is produced by Diane Media Group, a video production company based in Syracuse, New York. If you'd like to work with Diane Media for your next big campaign, or maybe a podcast you'd like to get off the ground, head to dianemedia.com to learn more. Until next time, I'm Alex Canavan, and I'll see you next Monday.